Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Trident Talk, where we just got done talking about Red Dead Redemption 2. And you know what?
And there's relativity in today's housing market.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. So
The American dream.
I'm not recording audio yet.
Me neither.
And cut. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Trident Stat. No, the Trident Talk.
We are talking about stats today.
We are talking stats. These aren't any month in particular. These are actually for, like, overlooming months, actually. This is something going beyond the monthly stats. This is something that talks about the markets as a whole. And that's right, I said markets. That's plural. Why?
We're covering 3 today.
Yes, we're talking 3 of the bigger markets in the United States economy, and actually the world economy as a whole, because this goes beyond national. So one of the things that we've actually heard about recently that's actually a bit of disturbing news as Josh is sitting there on his phone while we're recording a podcast
Sorry.
is that one of the bigger portions of today's buying market, as believe it or not, as realtors, we work with a couple of buyers of houses every now and then they come into play, is the fact that a larger portion of today's buying market, the millennial generation actually, has this kind of confusion about them, if I'm putting it lightly, about something very important when it comes to buying a house, financing, and more importantly, interest rates. Josh.
So, this is a big deal, especially to
Not
us.
sponsored.
Yeah, seriously, I just threw away Dr. Pepper. The Drink Champions, not sponsored, but it is the Drink Champions. But this is kind of a big deal to us because, number one, that's our age group as well. So, you know, of course, we want to take care of each other.
Depending on who you ask.
Yeah, I was going to say, depending, I guess, on who you ask. But
On your source.
It is extremely heavy topic, at least to me, because you guys know where I stand, at least on the education system, as one of them.
Oh yeah, because we're talking about that market today. Oh yeah, it's getting political.
So it's gonna be a little heated, and the statistics of how, to me, I think that they're harming people of our age group are extremely ridiculous. So we're gonna take a look at that.
So,
as one of them, but
excuse my throat. So, as we're talking about this, cut that out, please. As we're talking about this, the 3 markets that I actually wanted to discuss today when talking about the concept that we haven't even actually said yet, long and short, is today's millennial generation that's entering the buying market thinks that interest rates are too high! Okay? So, let me get this straight. You're trying to tell me that we're looking at interest rates that are under 3%. You know, even a conventional, say we're conservative about it, a 3.25% interest rate. We're saying that's too high. This is me going on rant mode real quick, okay? We're going to go over some numbers today, where we're going to go over the history that I brought into this, okay? Because we are going to discuss why anyone that thinks the interest rates today are too high is incorrect. Josh.
we could understand why you would think so. I mean, that's a pretty high number. I can barely count to that. However, they're not extremely high. As a matter of fact, they're some of the lowest that we've seen actually throughout history, within the past 50 years at least.
Very much so.
That we're going to be able to go see. Would you like to start with cars, or would you like me to start with?
I'll go ahead and start with cars. So one of the comparable markets that we like to talk about today is the car market. Because why? Everyone has a car, or everyone that needs to drive somewhere needs a car.
Yeah, and we should point out really quick, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's fine.
The markets that we're tuning into as well are 3 very relevant markets to each other. So, like, the markets that we've chosen to talk about today are markets that have a lot of, like, when I say comparison, I don't mean necessarily as far as
interplay.
Like, interplay with each other. They all, like, not rely on one another, but they're all usually considered to be
They all affect each other in one way or another.
Exactly. Like, when we talk about the housing market, of course, you have a house, you have a car, and a lot of people in today's age, as far as millennials go, they have a lot of student debt. Unfortunately, we'll find that out.
Which we'll get to that in just 1 second.
But yes, car market.
So in terms of cars, the reason why we bring cars into play as opposed in comparison to houses is that cars and houses, whenever you purchase them, do 2 very different things in terms of their value. This source is nerdwallet.com, URL right there. It was actually found in terms of new car depreciation that your car's value actually decreases around 20 to 30% by the end of the first year. From years 2 to 6, depreciation ranges from 15 to 18% per year, according to recent data from Black Book, which tracks used car pricing. As a rule of thumb, in 5 years, cars lose 60% or more of their initial value, end quote. So what does that mean? Let's go ahead and compare that to houses. So on average, in a normal market, exclude like the past 15 episodes of the Trident Talk, okay? In a normal housing market,
everything we've just taught you this past year,
forget it. Throw it out the window. Everything, see, take it right there, okay? Right in that direction.
It was all just a front.
Yeah, it was.
It was all just a front.
On average, houses will appreciate 3.5 to maybe 5% per year, depending on the year. That's excluding the 25% appreciation that we saw in the past year from 2019 to 2020 to heck, even 2021. So to put that into perspective, as opposed to your value increasing, it's actually decreasing. Now, there is talk of current events in the world where you see, for those of you unaware, there was I believe a factory in Japan, if I'm not mistaken, that is currently out of operations, for reasons to be, Google on your own time, that actually produced car chips. Now, for those of you unaware, a car, in order for it to be legal, needs to have a specific chip in it. It's an identification thing, yada, yada, yada. I'm not here for the details. What I am here to tell you is the fact that as opposed to depreciating, some cars are actually appreciating. Now, the reason why I bring this into play is the fact that we have two different markets, the housing market and the car market, both going through extremities in terms of appreciation and depreciation values. Cars are appreciating, which is out of the ordinary, whereas houses are appreciating at a much greater rate. However, if we take the extremities out of play and we talk about the normal markets, cars will depreciate 20 to 30% by the end of the first year, whereas houses will appreciate by 3.5 to 5%, give or take. Continuously. That's a point of order. Your house that you buy at $100,000 is $103,500 by the end of the first year on average. So, but there's a very important part of home buying that comes into play here, because most people don't buy a home until after they have a good solid job in play. And in today's world, it's thought that in order to have a good solid job, that goes beyond, a doctor or an accountant or a lawyer. If you're one of those, please go to college, especially if you're an engineer. Please don't make a bridge if you don't have a degree or know what you're doing.
We understand that there is a certain level of education that's required for a certain amount of rather difficult jobs like that do require a degree. Like, of course, I stand strongly by the fact that I think I would rather have a doctor with a degree and actually knows what they're doing as far as like anatomy and stuff goes, operate on me, than someone that went for what I was going for, business administration. So you would not want me operating on you.
Yeah.
So I'd be like, can we fix it with a Band-Aid?
Can we fix it? Throw some duct tape on that. But anyway, in terms of that, that's a very important portion of the home buying process, is having a good job for your finances. But when we talk about finances, we talk about jobs, we talk about college a lot. Josh, your turn.
So as far as college goes, another great market that has highly affected the buying rate for which millennials are now, because they're the emerging market into the real estate market. Like, they're the people that are going to be buying the next set of homes. Even though we have a housing shortage, they're the ones that are going to be fighting for it and all of that good stuff. However, same thing, like Mike was saying as well, it's not very useful anymore, or rather, let me just tell you some numbers here. So, as of 2020, the United States has about $1.6 trillion, $1.6 trillion in student debt, because we're entering into this phase now where going and getting a degree for a job that you want is not having the same ROI or return of investment as much as it costs to go to college. So you're spending, 50, 60, 70 or more thousands of dollars getting a job that's only going to be paying you possibly 30, 40, 50,000. So it's very difficult, especially when you're going from 18 years old. You might not have any credit, nothing like that, and you're taking a $70,000 loan. Don't even get me started on the fact that a kid that's 18 with no credit can take out like a $70,000 student loan, but if they wanted to open a business,
go ahead and censor that just for my own sense of
humor. If they wanted to go and get a business loan for like $5,000 or $6,000, they're not able to do it. Don't even get me started on that. However, the rest of the economy is like, oh yeah, go and spend, not even spend, go and take a $60,000, $70,000 loan right out of high school. Whenever you just got your driver's license 2 years ago.
For a job that'll make you $20,000 a year.
Exactly. So that is impacting a lot of the buying process for millennials, and the fact that they're getting hit with the depreciation of cars. They're having to get a car. The fact that they're getting
every time you hit the table, it pops up on my audio.
Sorry. The fact that I'm making a point. The fact that they have $50,000 to $60,000 of debt And that's affecting them being able to buy a house because they do think that the interest rate is
too high.
Too high. Yeah, they think that it's too high. 50% of all millennial ages, or I guess people, the NAR, so the National Association of Realtors last year, let us know that 50% of people under the age of 36, the reason that they weren't buying a home is because they had to pay down their student debt first. So the fact that people under the age of 36, so 36, like, let's say 30, let's just like kind of split the difference. Let's say like, between 20 and 36, 28 to 30, you have to pay down your student debt before you can even get your own place. And that's not even to take into the account like marriages or any kids or anything.
That's
like
a
that.
big portion of your life.
That's just straight up the amount of a loan and the depreciation of a car that you're getting, as well as the student loan debt upon yourself.
I mean, what is it that they say from ages 20, like 21-ish to 27 are like the most impactful years of your life? Which there's some give and take with that, of course. But I mean, if you're spending ages, let's say you get out of college at age 24 or 22 even, okay, and you're spending, the rest of your 20s paying down debt, well, guess what? You've just gotten rid of, allegedly, the most important and most impactful portion of your life. I mean, what's that to say? You're in your 30s, you haven't bought a home yet, and, and you're in this position where you've spent, of course, of how many years, let's say $18,000 a year in rent, for crying out loud, and I'm not going to do math out of my head. I'm going to get my calculator out. Is we're going to sit here and say that where's my calculator? There we go, $18,000, and from ages 22, let's say you have a dorm or something, and out of college, 22, for the next 8 years, you're paying $144,000 in rent, okay? That's on top of your student loan payments that you have to pay down. That's on, and granted, you're going to deduct the fast food job that you have, because you find out after you get out of college that your degree is useless, unless you do have a useful degree. Again, I want to make it very clear that there are a number of degrees in today's world that do have a solid rate of return. We can talk about neurology. We can talk about any form of, medicine. Well, most forms of medicine. We can talk about engineering. We can talk about accounting. We can talk about law. And there's a couple other ones, but those are the main ones. For myself, I was going for business administration. Okay, what's the saying? It's, as opposed to degree, don't give me a degree, give me knowledge and connections. I mean, because at the end of the day, what was the quote you told me? It was a couple months ago. It's a straight A student goes to work for a company who has a boss who got nothing but C's, who works for a CEO who didn't even go to college.
I don't know exactly. It's like A students work for B students while C students run the company. Mm-hmm. It was something along those lines.
Yeah.
Just strictly based upon that being experience in the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people that there's a lot of people that drop out of high school, they drop out of college, and they'll just go and work, and they usually sometimes get hired over students that are 25, 26 years old, but they've done nothing but go to Harvard or something for 4 years, but they've never worked a day in their life. They've sat in a dorm, they've studied, they've worked on campus, so they've had a job to help pay down their student debt, that sort of thing. But here they are, 25, 26 years old, coming into this emerging market and thinking that they're going to be able to just into a spot that has a much higher title than someone that's already been working for 5-6 years in the field. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people, unfortunately, and it's just business at the end of the day.
Yeah,
I'm sure
that's
a lot
the harsh
of business
reality
owners
of it.
would rather have someone that's had 5-6 years of experience in the field than someone that has had none but says that they can do it.
It's the age-old question of equality or equity. In the capitalistic market that we live in, equity means more than equality. Do with that information what you will.
So, and we aren't like belittling anybody. We really want to make that clear. Seriously, we are just but just on average, a lot of the blue-collar working middle-class jobs, the degrees for which the degrees for the loans being taken out for those is just not having a ROI return for those types of jobs. So the type of job that's going to pay you $34,000 a year nowadays, the degree is going to cost just as much, if not double, something like that. And so, yeah, that's what we were getting at. It was when we say that, kids our age group, between 20 and 25, or in this case, 36, because some people take a year off or whatever, they go half semester or whatever it may be. It's just ridiculous to see that, the first thing right out of high school that they're doing is taking out a loan that possibly might not be able to get paid off by the job that they're taking out the loan for.
So
that's a little ridiculous. But all of this is to show you that the interest rate is not too high. We are really trying to help you whenever we say, buy now. A lot of people think that, agents are always going to be, like, oh, well, this is the best time to sell. This is the best time to buy. Oh, if you don't go right now, you're going to miss an opportunity. However, we're out here really trying to help you because we want to be not only your realtors to go to, but we want to be the most efficient and, the most well-rounded in terms of getting you into the place that you want to be for the best price.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever we say these upcoming numbers about mortgages and things like that, as far as interest rate, we're not lying to you. Like, this is true. We're trying to help you because we would hate for you to look at the housing market, especially when we give you ways of how not only like you can enter the housing market as yourself, but like how you can use it to your advantage.
Mm-hmm.
We're not trying to get you into a spot where you're going to look at the housing market and look at what we do for you as something that's negative or like evil in a sense. At least I say that because I kind of look at education sometimes as evil. But
I plead the fifth.
But I'm not very educated.
Anyway, so when we're talking about interest rates over the course of the years, I think the best way to go about this is in the course of every decade. So if we're talking in terms of currently 2021, you're looking at average rates. I mean, say we want to go high, 3.25% is a rate that I have written very consistently for people that don't have perfect credit. Now, if you have perfect credit, you have a job that pays you God knows how much money over the course of a year, and don't be surprised if you have a low 2 interest rate, okay? However, your average individual doesn't have a perfect job where they've worked at, Boeing for 40 years, pull in $120,000, $150,000 a year, and have an 860 or however high credit score, okay? The average individual just doesn't have that. The average individual pulls in about a 3.25% interest rate, give or take, of course. So if we want to talk that, let's talk, 3.25% for 2021. Let's go back to 2011. Okay, 2011, you were looking at, let's see, 4.45. Okay, so that's just over a 1.2% higher. Okay, nothing too terribly big in terms of a difference. Let's go back to 2001. 2001 saw a 6.97, so almost 7%. Now, keep in mind there's a lot going in the world at this time, but, we're glossing over that for the time being because we're looking at the numbers specifically. Now, let's go back to 1991. 1991 saw us at 9.25%. Okay, so we're starting to kind of get up there, if I'm being honest. And then we go back to the 80s, going back to 1981. 16.64%. Okay. So whenever I hear someone saying, oh my goodness, I have a 3.25% interest rate, could I take you back 40 years to where 16.64% is the average? The average, okay? That's insanity. I mean, I don't know how to say it other than it's just that, insanity. 3.25 as opposed to 16.64%. That's 5 times the amount? A little less than 5 times, but still, the numbers stand there. 16.64% in interest or 3.25% in interest. World, I leave the decision to you. Which would you rather pay? Josh.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So what we're trying to say, though, since then, it has consistently gone down over the course of time. I mean, there's been times where it's here or there or whatever, but over the course of time, the past 30 years, it has gone from 16, it's actually lower. So please do not wait any longer to think that it's going to go lower, because there's going to get to a point in which they're not going to not ever just give you for free. Mm-hmm. There's always going to be interest. But it's
because banks and financial institutes are businesses.
They need to make money. However, there's never going to be a time in which they give it to you for free. So it's your choice at which one you want to get locked into. Mm-hmm. Do you want to wait until it's 16% again? Do you want to wait until 16% of every dollar coming into your household is now also not only getting paid for your mortgage or whatever your pre-approval rate was on, but is now actually going towards interest? Mm-hmm. Or do you want to lock it in at 3%? Mm-hmm. So another, just a small thing as well, as far as when it goes for interest rate. When the interest rate is lower, you afford more house. Mm-hmm. So not only are we telling you that now is the time to buy, now is the time in which you can lock in a fantastic house. You would be surprised the fact that the interest rate being as low as it is, how much you can get pre-approved for. You may have a student loan that you may not have perfect credit, and we understand that a lot of people get scared of lenders, they get scared of realtors and things, thinking that we're going to belittle them or something because they don't have good credit. We're here to help you with whatever credit you have. We're not here to go, well, shoot, you got to get that to a 900. What were you doing? You're what, 20 years old? And, you're 21 years old and you don't have a 900 credit score yet? Get your life together. We're not here to do that. We're here to look at what you have and give you the best option for you so that you can live a life that you want. So, because we're not just out here selling houses. We're selling memories, life. We're selling all of that good stuff. We're selling family, everything that you're going to be doing within that household.
Some would say family.
So, dumb. So we want to make that clear that whenever we're saying interest rates low right now, you're going to be getting approved for way more than likely that you think. If you think, I need 20% down as well, that's not also the case either. 3 to 5% is average. So we just want to point that out, that's what we're talking about here today. We didn't want to belittle any education. We didn't want to say that you going out and getting a new car or anything like that, if it was mandatory and stuff like that, is a terrible decision and you should rather walk. We're just saying to keep an open mind, especially in the real estate market, of how beneficial, how it could actually be an advantage right now for you. So,
but in other news, my name is Michael Murphy. I'm joined today by
Josh.Killian.
And this has been the Trident Talk on markets.